Welcome into the Paul Farrington Show. Paul, joined alongside Jack Weinberger and Robert Ziggy Ziegler at the University of Virginia. We appreciate everyone who's listening to the show. If you're loving it, like, comment, subscribe to the channel. Chasing down 15,000 subscribers. We're so close, guys. Right there. About 14.8 right now. Just crossed that to on the road to 15K. We'll be doing
There's
a merch
big giveaway coming at 15K for our members.
Big giveaway. Huge giveaway.
I mean, to see it rising from like 0.7, 0.8, it's like I'm edging myself. We're almost there.
We're almost there. It's awesome. And then the countdown to 20. It's a lot of fun watching the subscriber count go up. We're having a lot of fun chatting with everyone. People are DMing us. It's a lot of fun. And last night, finally no DMs about the Vikings losing in a primetime game. That was a lot. Ziggy said it wasn't a fun game necessarily, but winning is fun. And winning is hard.
They look kind of bad, but they got away with the win.
Jack texted us in the middle of second quarter.
And a cover. They could
second quarter, you said, does this team stink? And then Sam Darnold woke up and played a little better.
I mean, it was a good win. They didn't sell me on my... I think they might stink still.
I think the Vikings at this point are going to have a hard time selling a lot of people.
Yes.
Other than Vikings fans right now. Unless they start dominating, which
it's a win. Yeah, you won the game.
Yeah,
slow start, you pulled it off.
So week 9 rolls along. It was a weird week 9. I've been listening to a bunch of different sports media shows today, and everyone's kind of the same opinion that there really weren't many great games. There were a couple games that people were looking forward to that still didn't turn out to be very good. A lot of what we expected to happen sort of happened in most situations. If you're enjoying the show, again, you could become a member by going to our channel homepage, clicking join. What's the matter?
This is the clumsiest CTA I've ever seen.
I'm all over the place, man. If you can't watch on YouTube, the last thing, if you can't watch on YouTube, you can always check us out on audio, Spotify, Apple Podcasts, wherever you get your podcasts. We're trying to get those audio numbers up. So anyone who wants to listen there, you're helping us out. So we appreciate that. And one more, actually. You can follow our accounts on Instagram, TikTok, Twitter, Paul Farrington Show. We also need to build those out. People are always saying, hey, guys, we'd love to see you grow and make it here. Well, the way we can do that is by growing those other channels as well. So we appreciate everybody who follows along there. You see what I'm holding, guys? This is a chill pill. It actually says chill pill.
Can I put it in my mouth?
No, you probably shouldn't. It's made of foam.
It's not real.
But yeah, it's not a real chill pill. Okay. But it says chill pill on. If we had more high-tech cameras, we could zoom in right here. If producer Zach was here, maybe we could zoom in a little bit. No shots of producer Zach, but chill. This is a chill pill.
Where's
right
producer
here.
Lauren?
And I think a lot of people... No, she's out. She's out there. I think a lot of people in the NFL can use a chill pill. But maybe most importantly, our largest fan base, our largest viewing base, the Green Bay Packers fans, after their loss to the Lions yesterday, it wasn't pretty. I mean, the game itself was ugly conditions. Packers fans were not happy to be sitting in the rain watching their team get crushed basically the entire way through. But the reactions that I've seen from Green Bay fans is a little surprising to me, actually. I know they're frustrated, and they very well should be. It was a bad game, and it was a really big game. But mostly it's around the reception to Jordan Love playing in this game. And we've said on this show for quite a few weeks, Jordan Love needs to clean it up. The interceptions, the carelessness, there's a difference between being aggressive and being careless with the football. And we were saying Jordan Love has been a little careless this year. Whereas last year when he was hot, he was aggressive, but he was making all the throws. And he generally was putting it in spots where it was his receiver or no one could make a play. But right now, a lot of turnovers, 10 turnovers or interceptions leads the league. He's only played 6.5 games. He's tied with Geno, who's played 9. He's played 6.5. It's been an ugly year for Jordan, while there's still been fireworks on the offensive side of the ball as well. But this was a weird spot to me where we've kind of said this and it got a little bit of backlash from people. Some Packers fans said, hey, we see that too. We appreciate you pointing it out. A lot of other ones were saying, come on, guys, he's leading the league in touchdowns at, through 5 weeks, 4 weeks, whatever it was. Get a life. And now this is the game, though, where all of a sudden it seems everyone's turned on him and saying, like, oh, this is a problem. Like, we should have started Malik. Malik's the guy. Malik should be the guy when he gets back until Jordan can get this under control. But this is the game where he was hurt, right? Like, he's playing with a groin injury. I thought it was kind of an admirable effort to go against the best team in football. He clearly was hobbled the whole game. It was just a little bizarre to me that this was the spot where people decided, we're abandoning ship. When it's been a problem all year, and 2, he was playing through injury.
Well, that's what happens though when you lose a game at home in the NFL by
20 points,
20 points to a division rival.
Mm-hmm.
I mean, it's a week by week reaction. That's what's going to happen. Do we know how injured he really was? Like, at what point?
You could see it when he was running out there. He did not look like he was throwing fine, but the mobility wasn't there, and that clearly got to him.
He said after the game he was fine, but literally at the half, Matt LaFleur said, Jordan can't move. He was like, Jordan can't move. When we feel he can't protect himself, we'll take him out. And I actually tweeted out, I said, isn't that kind of weird? Like how comfortable are you someone can protect themselves when you're also acknowledging they can't move?
I mean, I was going to say, at what point do the injuries not become an excuse?
No, he was definitely.
But
hurt. He was definitely.
But I mean, I guess if you don't play him.
Well, you were on the Malik train.
I totally agree.
I was on the Malik train. I just wouldn't have played him. Like I mean,
this whole game was just a baffling game plan from LaFleur. He's the one I put the blame on most of all. Right, heavy rain, bad weather. What you need is a quarterback who can play under center and a team that can run the ball. That's what Malik Willis does best. And we saw Josh Jacobs was able to get it going. And we saw the Lions, Jared Goff didn't attempt a single pass of 20 or more yards. Jordan Love tried 7. Jared Goff only did 3 passes of 10 or more yards. He took almost all his snaps under center. But because Jordan Love wasn't mobile, he wasn't able to get under center. They had to go for these really deep pass plays. Instead, you could have brought out Malik Willis, who's great against man-heavy looks, exactly what the Lions are doing, who's shown he can operate a run game. And this is not me saying Malik Willis is better. This is me saying that Malik Willis is better in terrible weather compared to a quarterback who can't move and can't take a snap under center.
He's better in terrible weather with a functioning groin.
I mean, yeah, especially too in those types of conditions where you don't have to launch the ball down the field and get those chunk plays to win the game.
Mm-hmm.
Like, that wasn't going to work anyway. So when you're more than probably 50% hurt, which is what he looked, and not himself, I don't get why he's out there in a game against the best team in football.
Well, we were talking before the show about if there were different categories for, there are 3 possibilities for the Packers in the game. If you had to rank them in terms of how they could beat Detroit, it was you play Love and he winds up being less injured than expected was number 1. 2 was playing Malik, and 3 was Love goes out there, but he can't, he just can't, he's not himself. And that's the version you got. And that version was never, ever going to win.
And that's why I brought up, though, if when we stop making that an excuse, because if he was playing in that game, one would think that he was good to go. But I guess not.
Jordan Love, the kind of guy he is, you can just tell if he's capable, if his arm is capable of throwing the ball, he's going to want to be out there.
Yeah, but that doesn't necessarily mean, I completely agree with you, Ziggy. I don't know how much of it was LaFleur's plays versus Jordan Love being aggressive. But when you're just chucking the ball, you were talking about the downpour and we were kind of doubting it on the preview show. Then you're watching the game and it's like a monsoon in Green Bay. And they're just hucking it all over the place. I mean, there were a couple times where maybe they should have actually completed those passes, but it was still bizarre. And everything went wrong for the Packers. And that's kind of part of the problem they've had this year. I was doing a little bit of a deeper dive today into the issues they've been having on this year. And they're like 9th worst in penalties. They have the 8th worst numbers in terms of false starts on the season, 4th worst in holding calls, 3rd worst in offsides. Like, they've been pretty sloppy. Now they're still 6-3. So that's something that everybody can kind of, that's why I have the chill pill right here. You're 6-3, you're making all these mistakes. You can still button this up and be in a very good spot.
Got the bye coming up.
You have the bye, get right. And again, we said, who better for them to play than the Chicago Bears coming out of the bye? But even drops, like 9.8% of Jordan Love passes, that's his drop percentage this year. The only quarterbacks with the worst drop percentage are Deshaun Watson and Daniel Jones. Like, everyone's just playing a little sloppy football in Green Bay. And if they're going to have any chance of beating Detroit or beating Philly, whoever it might be at the top of the NFC, they need that all to be fixed coming out of the bye.
Well, I like what Tucker Kraft had to say about it. He was asked in the locker room right after this game what needs to change for the Packers. And he said there's 2 things. First, they've got to get rested up and get healthy. And the second thing he said, and I think this goes to your point about coaching and styles, he said the demeanor of this team really needs to change. They need to get tougher. They need to focus on playing smash mouth football. Not necessarily completely changing the scheme, but just being a physically tough team. Because in this NFC, against the healthy 49ers, against the Lions, against even the Minnesota Vikings, you've got to be able to play tough physical football at the line and run the ball. And we just haven't been able to see that consistently from the Packers.
And this could also be a product of being such a young team and having these expectations coming into the year. I mean, you have to play the games. We were all just assuming the entire offseason, we're going to slot Green Bay up here as one of the top teams. Jordan Love will be back doing this thing, blah, 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 blah.
I said I wanted to see it.
But yeah.
Maybe that's just because I am a fucking fan.
But we just can't expect that to be a carbon copy of what it was the last 10 games of last year. They got to go out there and show it. And again, they are 6-3. So I'm not like trying to downplay at all, but they haven't looked. They're not up to snuff.
Well, that's the important. That's one of the important like lessons that you could have with football. I mean, we take this approach with our podcast. We have some weeks that are really, really good. Ziggy's very good at keeping us in check. There are some weeks where we have great numbers, and we're like, all right, how are we not at 50,000 subscribers now? And then there's weeks where we'll have like 5,000 views instead of 45,000. We're going like, all right, maybe we need to readjust expectations.
Yeah, so we know what it's like to be a quarterback in the NFL is what you're saying.
What I'm saying is...
Especially in bad weather, too, when you're hurt.
Yeah, what I'm saying is there are highs and lows, and right now you're sort of in a low. And to be at a low at 6-3 is a good spot. But if you're a Packers fan, there's been so many... For Jordan Love specifically, everyone's kind of comparing him to Rodgers and Favre naturally as the successor to those guys in Green Bay. But like that's got to stop. Because one, Aaron Rodgers... never turned the ball over, 4-time MVP. Amazing. Brett Favre, people are saying the gunslinger, like, oh, Jordan Love's more like Brett Favre this year. Brett Favre won 3 straight MVPs, went to back-to-back Super Bowls. Like, Jordan Love is figuring it out. He's still relatively early in his career, but he needs to, it's not the physical side with Jordan Love, although the injuries aren't helping. He's got to get back to that mental side we saw at the second half of the year. Like, to your point, Ziggy, the mentality in Green Bay needs to shift. It needs to get back to that. They were locked in the second half of last season. And Love, everything he did felt locked in. Like he was not making mistakes. So I don't know what he needs to do to figure that out. Maybe LaFleur just needs to ease him back into things a little more. But you need the mental side of Jordan Love to come around, or else they're in a lot of trouble. Like, frankly.
I mean, prime Aaron Rodgers at Lambeau Field in a rain game like this against the Lions comes out and throws like 380 yards and 4 touchdowns.
This is a good Lions team, though. Like those were against bad Lions.
This is a great Lions.
Those were against bad Lions.
This is a great Lions.
There was one other like interesting statistic that I saw is for Love this year. I believe he has 10 interceptions. PFF has him charted for 10 turnover-worthy plays on the season. So, it's a little murky as to what actually counts as a turnover-worthy play, especially when it comes to fumbles too. They were saying, but he's at 100% of his turnover-worthy plays result in turnovers. Like that is higher than expected. You can't have the turnover plays that he's had this year, but that could regress a bit too. Like I'm not out on Jordan Love. That's why I don't understand. Packers fans can't be out on their guy after signing him to $55 million a year. Like this is your guy. Support him, and he'll probably figure it out in December. But the hate the Jordan Love, like it wasn't hate, but the Jordan Love disappointment was getting a little out of control yesterday.
And it's frustrating to lose lines like that, but they're off the bye week. They'll light up the Bears. All will be well. That's what's going to happen.
I can't believe I'm out here defending Jordan Love.
He'll light up the Bears. All will be well.
Yeah, but I understand why you're doing it. You had a rough start to the season, but it's still easy to forget, right? I know they signed into the mega deal. Like expectations are high, but this is his second season starting in the NFL. It's the first half of his second season starting in the NFL. And the team's in a position where they absolutely should make the playoffs. So I'm interested to see whether Jordan Love, maybe not the same level, but can recapture some of that second half of the season magic they had from last year as they're now turning the corner after this bye and entering into the second half of the season. We'll see how it goes.
I mean, a couple of weeks ago, they were 5-2. Everyone was on top of the world. Every single big media person was saying that this guy's top 5 quarterback in the league. He injures his groin writhing on the ground in pain. And a week and a half later, it's like, yep, maybe Malik should have a shot.
Hey,
what are you get out of this contract?
Losing,
it's like it's Jack up there.
Losing does things.
No, losing does
stink.
Insane how winning can cure everything.
Yeah, losing does things.
Like they lost to the best team in football.
Oh, I know. But losing.
Remember what Lions fans were saying, or Packers fans were saying to us when we lost to Detroit, and I was like, I was beside myself, angry. They're like, dude, you lost to the best team in the league. Like, relax. I'm saying relax. You lost to the best team in the league with your quarterback hobbling.
It's easy to tell another fan.
Oh, it's very easy.
Exactly.
It is. Okay, so let's jump into some other teams this week. That was just an interesting one to get to. I was surprised to see that reaction. Ziggy, you've kind of been on some victory tours lately. Why don't we continue along on the Ziggy victory train ride and tell us where we're going?
We're going to stick in the NFC North for this one, not focusing on this NFC North team. But the Chicago Bears went to Arizona, and as our own Jack Weinberger predicted, they got absolutely annihilated. And as our own Robert Ziggy Ziegler predicted, it's because DeAndre Swift couldn't get going. At this point, we're halfway through the season, right? Bad teams have been revealed to be bad. The great teams have been revealed to be great. And there's still some teams we're not so sure about. But the Arizona Cardinals are 5-4. They're leading the NFC West. And if you look at betting odds, I mean, the Cardinals started this season at dead last in odds. Now they're like plus 200 with the 49ers at plus 150. The Cardinals, I think, they've gotten a lot better as the season has gone on. The defense has improved. They've beaten some good teams, including San Francisco in San Francisco. I know they've had some tough losses too. But at this point, especially with the easiest schedule remaining in the NFL by opponent strength of schedule, it's hard not to look at this Cardinals team and think, at least as I do, that they're really in contention for the NFC West and probably should be, if not favored, at least close to favorites to win.
Yeah, you've been on them the entire season, even in the offseason when people were kind of ignoring Arizona as a potential threat with the way the Rams looked last year with Stafford. Seattle is exactly who we think they are. And the 49ers being the 49ers, it was easy to overlook them. But yeah, here we are. This is the first time they've had an over 500 record with Jonathan Gannon. Defense is flying around. They had 6 sacks yesterday. They only had 2 games with 3 or more sacks all year. They had 6 yesterday. 13 different players had a pressure on Caleb Williams. And it's just like, I think Jonathan Gannon's done a great job. And if the defense continues to come along the way they are, when you have a guy like Kyler Murray he's that guy. He's one of those guys in the league who can change an entire organization. He's not on the level of Lamar. Like, I don't want people to think I'm going crazy on Kyler, but he can play the role of hero when he has to. And having that guy along with an emerging team, yeah, it makes the Cardinals a threat. I still don't believe in them as much as you do. I view them closer to Seattle than when San Francisco's healthy, but we might not get healthy San Francisco. So that opens the door.
Yeah, Caleb did his thing. He sucked, which I wasn't surprised by. He realized that this is the NFL now, not the Arizona State Sun Devils.
Good God, man.
But this is a team who went on the road. They beat San Francisco already once.
They probably should have lost that game, to be fair. But yeah,
San Fran's not healthy.
They won. They won the Rams at home too.
Yeah.
Beat the Rams, beat the Niners. San Fran's not healthy. Rams aren't that healthy. Seattle's not that good. And now we're halfway through. And the Cardinals are able to put up performances like this. Like, they're able to, they're very boom or bust. But when they're on and Kyler's playing well, they're a hard team to beat. If you can get this level of Arizona, they can beat any team in the league besides the Lions.
So through 9 weeks now, they are in first. If you had to predict your NFC West champion, Ziggy, are you sticking with this pro Cardinals run that you've been on?
So here's something I am borderline certain about. Their last 2 games are at the Rams and they host the 49ers. Those games will decide the division. Mm-hmm. I'm willing to put my stake in it. But then you look at what between those games, who do you have to play? If you're San Francisco, you have to play Detroit, Buffalo, Green Bay, Chicago, Tampa. That's a lot of tough games. The Cardinals have relatively smooth sailing. They host the Jets.
Careful now.
They have a home and home against Seattle. They go to Minnesota. That's a tough game.
That's an L.
But then instead of looking,
I thought you were going to say that's
here's
winnable.
The thing. Instead of playing Detroit and Buffalo, you know who they play? The Patriots and the Panthers.
Yeah. Yeah, that matters.
I think Arizona's winning this division. They're right there. It's for the taking. At this point, if they can just beat San Francisco at home, the division's theirs. And I think they can.
That's one of those games. So the NFC West, I feel like we've had a lot of situations like that over the past couple of years where a team is on track with San Francisco and they have a big home game and they just get blown out in that situation. Like San Francisco's been doing it. It's kind of like the AFC East. You'll have Miami with a big opportunity to beat Buffalo, and that team, that pain in the ass team for everyone else in the division, finds a way to get it done. I think you're right. That will wind up being the game to determine it.
That was this past weekend to a T, the Dolphins Bills.
Yeah.
Bills kick a game-winning 60-yard field goal.
No, that's just how it works in those games with the Dolphins and the Bills. It's like we know no matter what Miami does, even when Tua drove them down the field, Tua was great in that game. They go down the field and win, and you're like, wait, a minute 38, Josh Allen. It'll probably fine. And then, of course, there's, the Jordan Poyer penalty. Like, everything that could go wrong at the end goes wrong, and Buffalo wins. That's what San Francisco seems to do to the NFC West.
Do you know what two things Kyler and Caleb have in common? One should be easy. One should be easy.
Number 1 overall picks. Heisman Trophy.
Okay, another.
Oklahoma.
What do you got?
Oklahoma.
I never understand what's going on.
They played at Oklahoma.
Oklahoma, and what else? This is the tough one.
Lincoln Riley.
Not Lincoln Riley.
Baseball? Did Caleb play baseball at all?
I'm not sure. Maybe. They were both coached by Cliff Kingsbury.
Oh,
you only get that here on the PFS. Actually, no, people probably.
What do you mean? I feel like
people probably know that.
Were you going anywhere with that, or are you just?
No, it's just fun fact.
What? How does that just pop in your mind? Like that provides no value, and it's fairly obvious. No?
Well, Kyler's probably like, let me show Cliff that I was better than Caleb. I was a better product for him than Caleb.
I don't think Kyler Murray I think here's what Kyler Murray
Isn't Cliff in Washington? Like what?
I mean, here's what he'd say.
I want to see if you guys knew.
What has Caleb Williams done?
I want to see if you guys knew.
So Cliff, not Lincoln though. Like you don't think
because that's more obscure. Cliff's more obscure than Lincoln.
Okay. All right. Yeah.
Hey, you didn't know.
I mean, I named. All right. We could keep going here. So, all right, you're on the Cardinals, Ziggy. Are you on board with the Cardinals?
No, I think San Francisco wins the division.
I think you're probably right. I'm keeping my eye on the Rams right now. And Ziggy was getting mad at me before we started the show. He's like, I know what you're gonna say when you say that the Rams were undermanned versus the Cardinals in week 2, that Puka didn't play, that Kupp got hurt. Like, that is what I think the Rams are so much different with those two guys on the field. And you see it. You see it when they
lost. They are.
40.
You know how many points the Cardinals won by, Paul?
What was the final score?
41-10.
I think there's a few factors. 1, those injuries matter. But 2, the Cardinals probably just kicked their ass that day. But are you telling me that Arizona goes to LA and everyone's healthy? Who do you think is going to win that game?
Well, did Cooper Kupp and Puka Nacua play defense?
Who do you think?
Because the Cardinals offense, I mean, James Conner at 120 yards and a touchdown, Marvin Harrison Jr. at 130 and a pair of touchdowns. Like, that wasn't even though I totally get those guys make a difference. I will even say that Cooper Kupp and Puka Nacua I'll give the Rams 25 more points. The Cardinals still win by a score.
I think in LA, that's a very young defense for the Rams too. They're only getting better as the season's going on. But yeah, if you have Matthew Stafford at the helm in LA, who are you picking, Jack?
Well, I think it's just going based on like a value based.
I mean, who are you going to take? Who do you think wins that game? Are the Cardinals that much better than the Rams that you're going to go Arizona?
No, I'd probably take the Rams.
Yeah, so I don't think it's crazy.
I think the Rams are 1 or 2 point favorites.
But yeah, I think Ziggy is going.
So what the hell are you trying? I'm saying I think the Rams are right up there.
I'm saying that I'm saying that like the Rams again have a much harder schedule left than Arizona. I think it's going to be tough for them to win the division. And I think it's going to be tough for them to beat out the Cardinals when it comes to competing for playoffs.
Yeah, I don't think he's just saying head to head.
I thought you were saying talent wise.
No, I think these two teams are very similar in strength.
I'm
honestly not counting on Cooper Kupp and Puka. I'm not counting on the Rams offense staying fully healthy the rest of the year.
And what are the odds?
Yeah, I mean, the Rams still have to play Buffalo. They still have to play Philadelphia.
I'm seeing plus 105 on San Francisco. This is according to unnamed sportsbook. Cardinals plus 220. Rams plus 380, Seattle plus 1100.
That sportsbook's an outlier. Most sportsbook have the Cardinals and the 49ers neck and neck, like plus 150 to plus 170.
The Seahawks, too, are not an easy out for anybody. I mean, you saw that this weekend with that DK. Like, they
go into overtime.
Freaking Jackson Smith and Jigba to my fantasy team. But yeah, like even Seattle, they're a tough out as well. I think all of these teams can beat each other on a given day, except if you have San Francisco go to Seattle on Thursday Night Football. But
I just think value-based with the Rams' health being inconsistent and their schedule going forward, the Cardinals is a better bet than the Rams.
People hate schedule watchers.
And that's not me saying the Cardinals are better than the Rams. I just think it's a better bet to win the division.
People hate schedule watchers, but when you're entering week 10 of the season, I do it all the time, and I think
You've got to start thinking about that. You have to think about the fact that San Francisco is about the hardest schedule left, except the Bears, and the Cardinals have about the easiest.
Yeah, I think that matters. So I wasn't completely aware of how much more difficult San Francisco's schedule was. So the Cardinals to win the NFC West could be the play. Could be the play.
I think it's a decent value play.
So I have the chill pill in my hand, and I was saying Packers fans should relax a little bit. A team that probably should, ditch their chill pills and just go into hibernation till next season. The Dallas Cowboys, another just really bad performance against the Falcons. What were they? 3 for 13 on third down. They started off 1 for 9, 0 for 3 on fourth down. They have their punter who hasn't completed a pass since 2014, throwing the football. It was a delamination for Dallas. Throughout the entire game.
That's a great word.
Delamination.
I've never heard that word before in my life.
Really? Delamination?
No.
Someone else once said that to me. I was talking. I said delamination.
Can you delaminate me tonight?
It was just a really
very
bad
painful.
game. It was just a really bad game across the board for Dallas. Outside of their rushing attack, had one of their better games of the season. So that was a positive to take away. But of course, the big elephant in the room, Dak injures his hamstring. He said he's never felt that pain before. He's going to be out for a few weeks.
I mean, you're what Mike McCarthy said today. He said they're considering IR.
At that point, they're probably going to shut him down because they got Philly. Let's say he goes on IR for 4 weeks, right? Philly, Texans at the Commanders, host the Giants. Even if you go 2-2, you're 5-7 at that point. You're not going to go to the playoffs. Like they're not going to go, and they still have tough games later on in the season. It's complete failure of a year for Dallas. I kind of feel bad in the sense that, like, now that we can see how Dallas is performing, it's easy to sit back and go, "Yep, I knew they were going to suck head into the season. They had so many issues across the board." To anyone who's saying that, I'm like, okay, come on. Like, if you were saying that at the beginning of the year, you were disregarding a team that had won 12 games 3 years in a row. Like, that's hard to do in the NFL. That you don't just luck into 3 straight 12-win seasons. It's that's a talented team. What I will give you is you could say this was the worst case scenario and they didn't prep for it, where they needed more weapons and they let Derrick Henry go. They had the issues with McCarthy. They didn't go after a guy like Belichick, for instance. They didn't extend Dak and CD early. Now they're in a worse cap situation. They didn't address the lack of depth on their team. Now the injuries all over the defense. So I think the injuries are the key failure for Dallas this year. Like, they are the thing that spurred all this. And unfortunately, that just happens sometimes. I mean, Micah's out. Deron Bland's out. DeMarcus Lawrence is out. Trayvon Diggs has been banged up. When you have that many guys hurt, it's going to be a tough year. So unfortunately,
you can make it easier by not making Ezekiel Elliott the cornerstone of your offseason plans.
Yes. So I think they go hand in hand. Well, exactly, Ziggy. They go hand in hand where they failed to prepare themselves for this year. They failed to prepare for a worst case scenario. At the same time, they got really unlucky with injuries. So I'm not gonna sit up here and just be like, "Yep, what a horrible franchise." They made some really bad decisions, but they also got pretty unlucky this year. And now the year's over.
And what a horrendous loss for my Steelers at home to that team. I mean, that just looks so bad now. When did Dak make his bag? This offseason?
Right before the season started.
I think that's the problem sometimes. I mean, he was standing on the sideline. He just looks over to one of his teammates. He goes, "We effing suck." And he didn't even seem like he cared. But, like, I mean, when you're paid a bag...
they were getting crushed.
Yeah, when you're paid a bag like that, though...
Oh, geez.
It's easy to sit back and be like, whatever.
I don't think that's the case.
I made what I made. I think it might be.
Nah.
He made plenty of money before this. He's just having a bad year.
Yeah.
But also, if you're a Cowboys fan, you can look ahead and say, well, Dak Prescott, the last time he had a bad year, he came back and was unbelievable.
But this is by far like his worst start to through 9 games. It's gotta be. Right?
The 2022 season was not a whole lot better.
Okay. But I mean,
when he was through 12 games, he'd thrown for 23 touchdowns and 15 interceptions. He's basically on pace for that now.
I think when you're getting older and you make your bag and you only have one weapon.
He's 31? Like, he's still, as far as quarterbacks go, he'll be around for a while.
But I mean, I think as the years go on, you make your bag, you only have one weapon.
Oh, yeah. No, that's where I can agree with you.
It's easy to sit back and be like, well, okay, whatever. Oh, and that's what I think he's doing at this point.
Well, he's hurt now.
They're down by 14 points on the sideline. We effing suck.
But I don't think he's saying it like, I don't think it's a we effing suck like, oh, who cares? It's like, wow, this is just miserable.
I think it might be a who cares.
I
think it might be a who cares.
These guys care about winning.
Why? They haven't done shit for him.
Because they're competitive.
Well, they gave him $60 million a year.
But you don't.
But they haven't done shit for him. They have one weapon. They don't have a run game. They have nothing.
Oh, yeah. Well, they did give him $60 million.
So, of course, he has his bag, nothing else around him. Fine, whatever. I have my bag, whatever. I mean,
I think the way I'm looking at Dallas is just that they failed. They failed in the offseason, got unlucky, and it all just turned into a complete disaster.
And when Lamb's not hitting his overs too, like he's the only player, and when he's not,
and he's banged up now too.
Yeah, when he's banged up, not doing his thing, this is really, really going downhill. What are they? 2-6,
3-5.
They should be 1-7,
3-5.
Oh, 3-5.
Yeah, but what do you think, Ziggy? Do you think I'm right in terms of saying it's weird? You know, people are coming out and saying I knew they sucked, but I feel like that's being a little harsh. A lot of it was bad luck too.
Or am I right with the bag situation?
Yeah, Jack, you're not right. I'm siding with Paul here.
I'm always right, Ziggy.
Okay, so we'll move on. Jack, I wanted to talk about the Cowboys. Ziggy wanted to hit on the Cardinals. Any game, any takeaway from Week 9 for you?
I do. One question though, Paul.
Go Jags.
If you were quarterbacking our Thanksgiving game and I paid you $60 million to do so, would you care if we won?
Yeah, I am competitive. Really? I want to win.
Like if I give you $60 million,
I think a lot of people. It's not all about money.
That's insane.
If everything was about money, then people wouldn't care to do anything. You could go out and get your money. If you wanted to, Jack, right now, you could go out and make $1 million.
Oh, if I was paid what Dak was paid to play QB for the Cowboys.
No, but you could, if you wanted to, you could go out and make a ton of money.
If I give you $50 million to play QB for our Thanksgiving team, you'd care if we won or lost?
Yeah, I'd try and win
Jack,
the game.
You need to read Book 9 of Plato's Republic. Like Stephanus pagination, like 581A3. That's what you need.
There's a better chance that I land on Venus tomorrow in a rocket ship than read that book.
You're a lover of money. You're doomed. You are doomed.
Yeah, I think that people can very much get paid money and still want to do things. I mean, if I gave you like $50 million, you're just sitting.
Most of the world makes money, doesn't want to do what they do.
No, but I'm saying people still are still motivated to do things and to achieve things.
Yeah, because they're being paid to do it.
I mean, you're not being that paid right. You're not being paid millions of dollars.
If playing football was free, Dak wouldn't be in the NFL.
You have no idea.
Yes, I do. If they were making money to play football, they would not be playing football.
When guys had to work second jobs to play football, there were Hall of Famers playing in the NFL.
Yeah, that's back in they really care back then. I'm telling you, it's different.
So what's your argument? That
it's different back
if you
then.
make a lot of money, you should just stop being competitive, stop being motivated to do things.
No,
you've made it.
No, I'm just saying people have a tendency to do that.
And there are some people, but
I wouldn't blame
Dak Prescott doesn't know what it's like to love something other than money. It is what it is.
I'm right.
Okay, so what game are you looking at?
I'm right. I'm looking at the Steelers. Great week off. 6-2. Got the Commanders next week. No, I'm looking at a team in the AFC North. The Bengals. It's been a roller coaster with them all year, right? We've been up, we've been down.
Mostly down.
We've been down. We've been down
the only person who's been high on them was Ziggy until they won a game and he decided to just come up.
Then we've been down for a while. And now I'm kind of back on the up and up because I didn't realize until about half an hour ago that this team is only a game out of the playoffs and they're behind the Colts and the Broncos. I'm also back off the Broncos. By the way, I think they're pretty bad. And Joe Burrow, they lost to Philly, right? And he comes out and he says, all we got to do is win, 7-10? All right, no problem. He has 5 touchdowns. They murder the Raiders. This is a team who should have won in Kansas City, had Baltimore beat. They can do these things and have these games. And Ziggy's going to sleep here. Where Joe Burrow lights the world on fire. And you tell me, if you're in the postseason and you are the 2 seed, the 3 seed, who would you be most scared to play? The Denver Broncos, the Indianapolis Colts, or the Cincinnati Bengals?
Well, you know who's the 3 seed right now.
I'm aware. Yes.
Sorry for dozing off there, Jack. Since you were talking about Dreamland, I decided to go take a quick visit.
But look at the schedule. They have the Steelers. They have the Ravens. They have the Chargers. They host the Broncos late. Like, they have opportunities to get into the playoff picture.
You mean they've got a lot of hard games coming up?
Yeah, but against teams that they should want to play because they could pass them. Like, they have their chance. It's right in front of them.
They do have the opportunity.
But they also do. They have the Patriots, I think, and the Titans. Those should be wins. And then their fair
share. They don't
share.
have the Patriots. They only have the Titans.
Right, Titans. But then their fair share of teams who are ahead of them that are huge games.
It is pretty funny when you look at the AFC right now. If you go, top 4 seeds at the moment are the Chiefs, Bills, Steelers, and Texans. The Ravens are 5. You can feel confident about them getting in. Although Pittsburgh's a weird team. They should.
No, what is this? Enough. We're good.
Yeah, you're all right.
Like, what does it take for us to get our? Fine. Keep going. See what you want to say.
They're okay.
We're better than you.
They're okay, and I disagree.
Much better than you. But keep going.
No. You got TJ Watt. He's awesome. But
he's great. He's on our team. Thank you. Keep going.
The offense, I'm not
good.
Behind. So anyway, the 6th seed is the Chargers, and you could have your opinions on them. But at 5-3, they look like they've played for the most part wild card-esque football right now. I mean, they were pretty bad against Arizona. But you're right. Then at the 7th seed, like, you have the Broncos, Colts, Bengals, Jets, Titans, Dolphins, Browns, Jags, Raiders, Patriots. The Bengals are clearly, right, the best team.
You mean to tell me out of that group, the Bengals aren't the best team?
No, they are. I think most people would say the Bengals are the best team.
Yeah.
And since they are one game back in the loss column, you can easily sit back and say, oh, well, yeah, maybe they should. Well, what's the odds? What's the odds right now on the Bengals to make the playoffs?
It's probably a minus number, right?
No, they're plus 100 to make the playoffs, plus 140 not to.
On unnamed sportsbook, I'm seeing minus 104 yes, minus 118 no. So it's about even. It's roughly.
I think the yes, there's a decent bet. I think they probably stumble their way in.
Ziggy,
if you think
why
the
did
yes
you
is
come
a
off?
Decent bet, you should wait until after they lose to the Ravens this week.
That's actually true. You should wait. They'll lose at Baltimore, and then you go and get them if you believe it.
Yeah, but Ziggy, why are you so off considering the 2 teams ahead of them are Denver and the Colts? Like, I'm saying make the playoffs. I'm not saying win the Super Bowl.
They did get murdered by Philly a couple
I know. I think it's a clunker. We see that.
They have won 3 of their last 4. Ziggy, it's interesting because you were on them for so long, and then immediately after, I believe, their first win in a while, you came off them. Like, what?
No, they've won 3 of 4 since he's been on. Now he's off.
Yeah.
I mean, I am not convinced this team can play good, consistent football. They played a tight game against New York. They played a tight game against Cleveland. They got obliterated by the Eagles at home. And yeah, they played a nice game against the Raiders when Gardner Minshew and Alexander Madison came to town. But like, I don't put a lot of stock in that. I put some stock in it. It was a nice win. But the defense still struggled to contain the Raiders' offense.
Jack,
that's tough.
Wait, let me ask this.
They also had tight games against the Chiefs and tight games against the Ravens. Like, if tight games will be an argument, like, this is a team who can play with.
Jack, I will
this team's not bad. The question is, in order to make the playoffs, they have to start playing consistent football. And the one thing I am not confident we've seen from this team through their easier half of the season compared to the second half is consistent football. Are they suddenly going to start being consistent when they got to play the Steelers twice, when they got to head to Baltimore, when they got to head to Los Angeles, when they've got to play Cleveland again? When the brutal Broncos defense comes to town.
All right.
I don't think this team is consistent enough to make the playoffs from the hole they're in.
Do you know, Jack, who do you think are the 4 worst teams in football? 4 worst teams.
The Panthers, the Saints, the Giants, and the Bears.
The Bears
Not the Patriots?
I think the Pats are better than the Bears.
So, Raiders?
Oh, yeah, it's Raiders. Oh,
Raiders lost by 1 million to the Panthers.
I guess maybe I'll slide the Raiders in there instead of the Bears.
So the wins the Bengals have this year: the Panthers, the Giants, the Raiders, and the Browns.
Well, I'd rather them win than lose.
Oh, no,
games.
I know. I'm just saying, when you look at it, they have only beaten the worst of the worst teams in the league, which is why I understand where Ziggy's coming from when he says to play consistent football. I mean, that includes showing up against the good teams and winning those games. And they've found ways to, like, they probably should have beat the Chiefs. They probably should have beat the Ravens, but they found ways to lose those. I think I lean closer to you though, Jack, honestly, where they are just better than most of those other teams. And Joe Burrow is a large part of that. He's the part of that. So I would put my eggs on them sneaking in. And then you're right. If they get in, I think any team hosting a playoff game in the first round would rather face Aaron Rodgers and the Jets or Bo Nix and the Broncos than Joe Burrow and the Bengals. So I'm with you. I'm just playing a little devil's advocate.
The table's set. Like, they have opponents that are ahead of them right now.
But you lose to the Ravens and Chargers on the road the next 2 weeks, like they're done. Like, right? Right? Like, you gotta split that. That has to be 1-1.
Well, it depends on the Colts and the Broncos and these guys.
Yeah, I guess you're right. Like, those teams could fall apart.
They're competing with crappy teams.
They are competing with
they're
crappy
competing
teams.
with bad teams.
If they beat the Chargers, it's a great position. Okay, so Ziggy says that's enough on the Bengals right there.
Enough Tiger talk.
Did you guys think? I actually do think that we mentioned it briefly, but I thought Tua played really well against Buffalo. I felt bad for the Dolphins.
I did too. It was a great cover. But it's for them. It's too little.
I told you this team would be better with Tua. No one believed me.
No, you were right, and I was really disappointed because it finally felt like they might be able to beat Buffalo too. And of course, you had the second half fumble. Like, there's just always these bullshit plays that happen to them in these games, and usually it's Tua throwing a pick. But when he scored at the end, then you have Buffalo in 3rd and 14, and I was like, they might get the ball back and win this thing. And if they win that game, I know there's still kind of a long shot, but in terms of getting it to win the AFC East, but the wild card is way more possible. And then you have the jump off sides, and then you have Jordan Poyer with the illegal hit, and you have the 61-yard kick for a kicker who was horrible all day. Like, those are just the kind of things that happen in these Bills-Dolphins games. And I was bummed out to see it because Tua's going out there playing really dangerous. It's dangerous for him at this point. And when he goes down, he was running all over the place too a couple times. I was like, just go down, please. And I was bummed out for producer Zach and the Dolphins. I thought that was a very winnable game that could have saved their season.
That drive too at the end to tie the game was super impressive.
I thought it was maybe the best drive of his career.
Tua was awesome. Waddle was great. A couple of big conversions. The sad part is it's too little too late. They're 2-6. It's too little too late for them. 2
games behind the Broncos in the loss column.
I mean, that's not. It's a lot.
2 games back. just start winning.
Yeah, I guess.
Was it the Dolphins? Did the Dolphins have the really difficult second half of the season? I remember, or did they get easy as the year went on? Trying to remember here. Let me take a look.
The Dolphins have a medium difficulty second half of the season. Some hard games, some easier games.
San Fran at Houston at Green Bay.
Who's ahead?
But they also host the Raiders, host the Patriots. Go to Cleveland.
2-6 is
but they're competing too with a million teams. Like, who's there? The Jets are there. The whole AFC's there.
No, the Dolphins' playoff picture's over.
Yeah,
they had to win this game.
Like, the Bengals
or against the Cardinals, or against the Colts.
We were talking right before we started the show today. It's kind of crazy that it's week 9 just ended, and you have, the heavy favorites to win some of these divisions. Buffalo's minus 4,000, Houston minus 850, Kansas City minus 1,900. All those teams that we expected at the beginning of the year. Atlanta minus 800. Like, they were all the favorites, but they're kind of wraps. Like, it feels like they're wraps at this point. It was a huge win for Atlanta, by the way. There was one more game I wanted to hit on. Oh, yeah. So, Ziggy, as far as the Eagles go right now, they're 6-2. They're right up there with the Commanders. Same number of losses. Washington 7-2. Are you buying Philly? Do you think that will Nick Sirianni cost them potentially as the year goes on? Also, the Saquon hurdle, the backwards jump, was one of the coolest plays. I was watching that live.
That has to be the most impressive 14-yard gain in NFL history.
Yeah, it's up there.
It looked like you were watching. He was a grown up in the NFL playing against children. Like, that just looked like he was just saying, I'm just gonna screw around here.
Can you imagine you're in the NFL and you say, you know what? I bet I can hurdle over that guy backwards.
I think I could have made the spin and hurdled forwards, but the backwards hurdle is what really got my eye.
It really looked like he was just screwing around, though. Like, when you watch it in slow motion, it looks like he just goes like, I'm gonna see it this way.
You know what it reminded me of? You remember that game, Cavs versus Celtics, and like Kevin Garnett went for that really dirty foul on a LeBron dunk, and LeBron didn't even notice him. This is in like some conference finals, and he just blows over Kevin Garnett and dunks the ball.
Is that the no regard for human life call?
Yeah.
Yes.
Yeah, even though KG is like trying to murder this man in the air and LeBron doesn't notice, that's what it felt like watching Saquon out there.
He's been crazy.
Was Sirianni's game management perfect? No. Did it feel like he got in his head over the tush push and like decided to stop calling it even when it was obviously correct? Yes. Is he sometimes a little too aggressive? Yeah. Saquon Barkley at 160 yards this game. Jalen Hurts threw for 230, ran for another 70. I don't care if Nick Sirianni is the worst game manager in the history of football. As long as Jalen Hurts, Saquon Barkley, Devontae Smith, and A.J. Brown are healthy, sky's the limit for this team.
Just a different the Devontae Smith touchdown catch. There's so many massive highlights for the Eagles in that game.
I agree. It's all your players. I totally agree.
Unfortunately, they avoided a serious knee injury to A.J. Brown, which you got to be relieved to hear.
Well, he's been if he was out for the year, let's just pretend A.J. Brown had a season-ending injury. Like, I'm out on Philly. He's that important to that team that you need him. It's kind of like, the Rams with Puka and Cooper Kupp really need their star player, in my opinion. But no, A.J. Brown they haven't lost a game he's played in this season. They tried to give it away, and Trevor Lawrence. It's weird thinking about where Trevor Lawrence has fallen to from the time he was in the draft, entering the draft process.
They suck.
The whole time he was in Clemson. Remember, all you talked about was him being the next Andrew Luck. And sometimes these guys come into the league and it just doesn't really work out. And that's the trajectory that he's on right now, which has got to be so disappointing for Jaguars fans after you're thinking last year they might be the 1 seed at one point. And now you have no idea what the future of that team is. But Philadelphia, as long as their guys are healthy, I mean, the addition of Saquon, Giants fans must be so pissed off watching that every week. He's amazing.
Well, I mean, the thing is, though, it's the Giants have had so many years with him and done nothing.
They did, so but to then go see him go to Philly,
that's terrible.
Like, could you imagine
AP going to Green Bay?
Yeah, or imagine Antonio Brown for you in his
going
prime,
going
to Baltimore and lighting it up. Like, he might be. It's him or Henry's probably going to be the offensive player of the year. And that's just
TJ Watt goes to Baltimore.
Yeah, that would
lights it up, and they're a Super Bowl threat. Like, it's especially when you watch the Giants. What were they on this?
Well, it's different though. If we were like an uncompetitive team with Watt for so many years and it didn't matter, I wouldn't care as much.
Still your guy. I mean, we weren't very competitive with Peterson. I'd still be pissed off to see him as a Packer.
Yeah, you're right. But I don't think you'd be as pissed off as you think.
Remember, wasn't it Mara was like in the office? He's like, don't let him go to Philly. Don't let him go out. Saquon's
if you were super competitive with AP, it's different.
Yeah. No, I get where you're coming from.
The Giants is like they stunk with him anyway.
All right. It's crazy. The two leading candidates for Offensive Player of the Year, Saquon, Derrick Henry, new running backs in new situations for Super Bowl hopefuls. So we'll wrap it up on week 9 here. We said it was kind of an uneventful week, but we found a lot to talk about. There's always a lot to talk about. Yeah,
we've basically talked about what's happening on everyone's schedules for the rest of the season.
Yeah, right. Real quick, like 30 seconds. Do you believe in Atlanta? Are you confident in the Falcons to be anything more than a first round exit?
They'll be a 4 seed, win a home game, and lose in the second round.
Because I was thinking as a Viking fan right now, I would probably rather go to Atlanta than like host the Rams in a playoff game.
I'd rather play home.
Yeah,
yeah.
I'm sort of bailing on Atlanta being anything more than a wild card.
You'd rather play a game at home in the playoffs. Yeah. Yes.
If Atlanta's the 4 seed, they're playing either the Eagles or the Commanders almost certainly. If not, then the second best of the NFC North teams. Actually, they're playing either the second best of the NFC North teams or the Eagles or Commanders. Either way, I'm not taking the Falcons in either of those games.
I guess they're the 3 seed right now, so we'll see. It's a
they're
good
not
year.
Making it to the 2 seed.
If the Falcons and Cardinals are the 3-4, it's going to be the wild card teams are going to be better. Oh, I mean, right? Don't you think right now the Falcons play the Eagles in Atlanta and the Cardinals play the Vikings in Arizona? Like, would it be surprising if the Vikings and Eagles won?
I take the Cardinals over you.
I think most people would take the Cardinals, but
no, it doesn't shock me.
Yeah, it's sheesh. And the Packers are going to the Commanders if the Packers get things right. So, all right, we'll wrap it up here. Ziggy says enough. Enough is enough.
Enough shenanigans.
Appreciate everyone who is listening. Please remember to like, comment, subscribe to the channel, leave some comments. Well, maybe we'll do a mailbag later this week. We missed it last week. Apologies on that. We just ran out of time. So we'll see you soon.